I don't think it is. Or maybe somebody may have a different opinion. Is it? Jen? Jen says it's not necessary. Davis? You have no idea. Okay, Davis doesn't know whether it's necessary or not. Is it? Who else has no idea whether it's necessary? Is it necessary? Yeah, okay. The correct thing is that it is not necessary. Okay, because when we initialize the Git repository on our top level directory here, if I run git status, you can see something interesting. Is that by doing this, we started to track the contents of this directory. So anything we add, any directory, any file, we can track its versions and we can add it to the Git repository. Okay. So one of the things that we might want to do would be to go and remove. We remove the extraneous Git repository in the moons directory. How do we do that? Yeah. So it turns out that let's just have a look at the .git. So .git does all this for us, and it's always nice to look at the contents of the .git directory. So it's an entire directory, but it has a couple of files in it, and that's where most of the information involving whatever we are tracking within our repository will be persisted. Okay, and by removing the .git directory, if we deleted it completely, we will delete the history of our project, and we would also stop tracking that project. Okay, something to be aware of. So one way to do it would be to do .rm moons.git. Okay, I can do that. I may have to do a force here. Okay, and it's gone. Yeah. You don't have that .git repository anymore in the moons directory. So the key point is that one way to initialize a Git directory is simply running the command git init, yeah, or initialize. I think is a short form for initialize. And the other important thing is that Git stores all the information in the .git directory. It's a hidden directory. So under Linux Unix system, if a file starts with a dot or a stop, is that, yeah? It's hidden overall from the sort of the file system, but we can always ask the ls command to output all hidden directories, and it will do that. Okay. Right. So we just have a look now. Let's see how we can go about tracking details about our repository. Okay. And it turns out that these fellows here are going to create a new file. You can use your favorite editor. I think you're on Linux, you'll have Vim, you'll have Nano. I don't know whether BBEdit is available, but you just use Nano. That's quite ubiquitous, quite familiar on nearly all Linux systems. So I use Vim. So all I use another command here to do this, right? The touch command allows me to create a new file. So in this case, it's called mass.txt. Okay, and I can edit the contents of that file, opening it, and it gives me a prompt. And then I'm going to store some information about it, cold and dry for everything, but everything is my favorite color, whatever that means. Is Dracula speaking. What's usually interesting about Mars? It's a red planet. It's Dracula's favorite color. Don't know why Americans always use this. Okay. I've also spelled the word color the right way. Okay. So we can sort of exit our editor, and we can do ls. Now we got 2 files in there, right? And if we run cat mars.txt, it outputs the contents of this directory, which is what we had written down here, right? And we may want, now that we have Git here, we may want to check the status. I'm just creating my directory there, Git status. And Git responds by giving us a couple of things, a couple of information. So it's still telling me that I'm on the main branch. There's no commits yet, but I have an untracked file, mars.txt. My terminal output that's in red. Yours may do something else. And it's giving me a hint on how to add this file so that I start tracking the contents of this file. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this file to our Git repository by using the add command. So git add mars.txt, and now we can do git status, and you see that our Git now responds by telling us that there is a new file that has been changed or added to the repository, that file has now been committed, right? And if I wanted to unstage it, or maybe we'll come to that. So I've used a fancy way, for my terminal, so that wherever I add and I run git status, it gives me things in different colors, like red, and then once I've added it to the repo, it turns green. Okay. So what we want to do is that what we've done, if you think about like the different spaces we're working about, is that we've added our file onto Git, but what we've not done is that we've not specified what we have done. So we need to commit and add a commit message to our file, and the way we do it with Git is running git commit -m for message, and we quote, and here we start notes on Mars as a base. So I'm just copying whatever is written there, and we do that, and we press enter, and a couple of things happen now. Yeah. It tells me, I think the important line is here, one file changed, one insertion, and it tells me that that has been created, and you can see now that X thing that was on my terminal has sort of disappeared, and if I run git status, you can see that I'm able to state that I'm on the main branch and nothing to commit, working tree is clean. Okay. So what has happened? Who wants to summarize to us? what just happened, just up to that point. Okay, what was happened is that we started a new directory. We want to track the contents. We added a new file. Often that's what we do. It could be a reference sequence, it could be an analysis, it could be a new script, and now we start to track it. We modified that file by adding content to it. We wrote something for this, it's all about Mars and so on, and then we added that file to our Git repository, and then we committed a message by saying what it is that we've done. Okay, so we may want to know what's going on, and we can look at the log, right? In this case, if I run that log, I can see a commit message that is given a special number there. That's a random number. You can see who's the author. Yeah. So in this case, if I had set my Git name and so on, that would be what would happen. But then you also see the date and time that commit was started, and you see the commit message, which is start notes on Mars as a base. Yes, Davis. That was in the setup. We skipped that bit. Yeah. What's on your terminal when you run git log? Yeah, that's git commit. Run config. Okay, you can run the config just to make sure that that's running. So there's there's some. So if you run git config global user and just put in your email and your name on it, yeah, just run that. Setting up the global namespace. Up to here. No, then you can up to here, and then put in your email or something if you wanted. Is Git working, or it's complaining about the config? It's complaining. Yeah, so then, okay, I thought there was some default configs. We may have to run the configs then, okay? Yeah. Word was that Git was all running and there were some default configs. If that's not the case, that's why I started a bit here. We may want to go back here by setting the configs, but also you'll note that in some of the error messages that you're getting, so run these two commands sort of to set you up so that at least you have a username and an email. So just run that in your terminal to allow Git to configure this. I thought that has already been set up, sorry, using some defaults. Yeah, git config, global username. Yeah, use your proper name if you want. You still can use that, but you can change that to your name. Okay. Have you been able to do that? To set the configs? Yeah. So if you set that and set an email, we can go back and run once we've done the commits, if that's all worked, we can run the log, git log here, and it should be able to give us something similar to what I had printed on the console, on the terminal. Are we there yet? You okay? How are you running? Git config. I think I moved too fast. Let me know if all of us been able to set our global usernames and emails at least. That's the minimum we need. You can set up all your editors. There's so much you can set on your global namespace.
Do I type the username as well?
Yes. It doesn't have to be those ones. You can just set up your own. So git config. Yeah. So git config minus global. Just exactly as it's written. Then username. Use your name. User.name, and then quote and quote. Yeah, so you might want to come here, and then run username, put some quotes, and then and then set the email. But so one way I can do it here, so if you do that, it allows you to just change where you need to. Okay, so this one over here allows me to just change the email. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Makes it easy. Yeah. So Lynette at just give me. Yeah.
This git commit the message, does it mean anything, or it's just can be anything?
It can be anything. Often, like if I set in a new repository, I usually say initial commit, but this one is more specific to exactly what happened. It doesn't matter, but it's a whole debate about useful commit messages. That's like a whole different way. And whether that should be in the present tense or in the past tense, like what you did or what you've just done. Yeah, so it's a whole debate around how, but it's really important to learn how to make useful Git comments because that's what people use, and that's also what you'll use to understand what was happening. Yeah. We good, Lynette? Good. So if you run git log, enter. So it looks like you don't have a Git repository. Yeah. Did you create your planets thingy?
I had that.
Okay, so you might want to create. You may want to go back to the previous steps that we did. So make dir planets. Planet. Okay, you done panes. Doesn't matter, you can correct that later. So then use cd to planets or panes in this case. Yeah, so cd, get into that directory. There you go, ILS. So, okay, ls, enter. Okay, good, this is empty. So I make dir moons. Then in git init. Yeah, enter. Right, so now we have our, so if you run now ls minus a, now you can see that we got a git. That's where all our changes will be persisted. So if you do touch mass.txt, and then use nano or vim, what's your favorite editor? Yeah, and then type something on mass.txt. Yeah, write something on that file. All right, yeah, enter, quit and save and quit. Are you familiar with the nano? How to quit, and what do you use to edit files? Okay, so you might want to, how do you exit? I'm not a big user of nano, but I think you press Control.
Right out.
Yeah, Control O. And then enter. And then exit. Control X, yeah. So now if you do cut Mars, you can see the text that you printed. And now what we want to do is that we want to type git add mass .txt. Okay. Now if you run git status, yeah, you can see that we've added a new file. Now we need to add a message, so we're going to run git commit -m, and then we give a commit message.